Subnautica 2 trailer dropped almost 2 months ago, and with it, they revealed a lot of new features that will be coming to the game. But out of all of them, one new feature has sparked the most controversy: the addition of women. The addition of multiplayer. Now, there are a lot of players who are excited for this and believe it'll make the game much more fun and replayable, but there's also a large group within the community that believes multiplayer is a terrible addition to the game. They claim that the feature will ruin the immersion, gameplay loop, and even take away from the theme of isolation that the first game handles greatly. So in this video, I'm going to do a deep dive on how multiplayer will influence Subnautica 2's gameplay, narrative, and horror elements by analyzing the Subnautica titles so far and comparing them to other games in the survival and horror genre. So, let's get right into the analytic shenanigans. Before diving into how multiplayer affects gameplay, we first need to understand the core loop and progression of the original Thalassophobia simulator. The player starts off with nothing but a life pod with a fabricator and a few supplies. And with the little they have, the players explore an alien ocean, scavenging for resources and uncovering the planet's mysteries at their own pace. Some players prefer to take their time, enjoying the vibrant alien atmosphere and all it has to offer, while others rush through it like they're trying to get a Steam refund. Because of this, a playthrough can last anywhere from 10 to 30 hours, sometimes significantly longer, depending on how the player wants to progress and the goals they are trying to accomplish. But the overarching progression of the game is directly tied to how fast you can collect resources and blueprints. If you take the time exploring, only collecting a few materials at a time, it may take you a while before you're able to build your first unlicensed vehicle. But if you focus on grabbing everything you can and scanning everything in sight, you'll be living in a mega base before you know it. The introduction of multiplayer only accelerates this process. I experienced this firsthand with my hostage, my friend Zambi, when we tried to beat Subnautica in a single sitting with the multiplayer mod. With Zambi and I taking a semi-leisurely pace, we finished the game in around 9 hours. And this was no perfect run either. We encountered many major setbacks and glitches that brutally slowed our progression. To be fair, we're not exactly new to the game. But the fact that we finished it that quickly, despite the many setbacks we encounter, shows just how much faster one player can push the progression of the game. And keep in mind that Subnautica 2 plans on having up to 4 players in a single world. Of course, there are factors that could slow the progression. Let's be honest, no one really wants to fight over vehicles and tools like a child in a divorce court. So players are probably going to make their own personal set of equipment. Some players might want to experience things together, so they might end up exploring in a big group rather than splitting up. Other players might not have the best decision-making skills, so they might end up breaking their vehicles by ramming them into Leviathan-class creatures. And this isn't to criticize the people that play the game like this. You can play the game however you want. It's a survival game. You're supposed to have that freedom. The issue arises when these dynamics aren't managed properly, potentially resulting in very short playthroughs. So, what's the solution to this? They could try to slow down the progression in the sequel, but that brings its own set of problems. And in order to explain myself, I need to talk about another game in the horror survival genre. This survival game takes place in, well, a forest. But not just any forest. It's a forest featuring dangerous animals, cannibals, and terrifying creatures that look like they just crawled out of a microwaved hunk of human flesh and shit. The game features an innovative building system that allows for creative and liberating construction, letting players place down logs or rocks and connect them in different ways to build custom bases. As a fan of the first game, I was initially super excited about this new mechanic and couldn't wait to start building a custom base of my own. Once I got the game, however, this quickly became one of my least favorite features. To build a basic foundation, the player would need around 6 logs, and since you could only get 2 to 5 logs chopping down a singular tree, the player would need to chop down at least 2 of them. Which, if you can't tell by the background gameplay, is a really fucking tedious process. Then when you have the trees chopped down, you have to bring the logs to the building site, which sounds okay until you realize you can only carry 2 logs at a time. And after taking a couple of trips, you are rewarded with a singular foundation. And with this foundation, you can begin building the walls, which takes around 7 to 8 logs each. Once you spend all that time building your 4 walls, you can put a roof over your head. But you've already wasted so much time, so instead of making a nicer roof, you have to go with the basic flat top, which luckily only takes around 3 logs split in half. And after spending all that time, you finally have the most basic hut you can make in the game. As you can see, this process is very time consuming, making the system feel more like a chore rather than a fun feature. With multiple players, this process becomes much quicker and more manageable. And I think it's because this system was intended to be more of a multiplayer feature than a solo one, which sucks because in solo, it's such a slow and painful process that you're really just better off building a shit shack. If the developers were to flat out increase the cost of everything in Subnautica, solo players would probably end up not enjoying the experience, or at the very least, not interact with certain gameplay mechanics that end up taking way too much of their time. The obvious solution there would be to increase the cost specifically for multiplayer construction, or to decrease the cost of single player construction. I mean, it would be the best of both worlds, right? Theoretically, it would keep multiplayer sessions from steamrolling the game and solo sessions from feeling painstakingly slow. Well, yeah, probably. The only issue I see here is that it would introduce its own balancing issues that might take up time in other areas of development, which means we would get a much more balanced experience between multiplayer and solo at the expense of other features of the game not being fully developed or even potentially cut altogether. Unknown Worlds, just like any business, have deadlines that they need to meet, and they have shown previously that they will cut content in order to meet these deadlines. For those of you that don't know, a developer has stated that multiplayer was planned to be a feature in the first Subnautica, but was cut in order to meet deadlines. And also probably because the game was not built to have multiplayer in it regardless.
I wonder what the game's gonna do if I try fabricating while this is moving. It didn't like it. It didn't like it.
So although they could spend the time to make it a balanced experience for both parties, I think they'll just stick to a set price for everything in both modes. Now, if you asked for my personal opinion, I have a disease known as crippling impatience, so I'd much rather have a quick, enjoyable playthrough than a slow and grindy one. And to be fair, this doesn't even take into account the other new systems Subnautica 2 is adding, like the Biosample system, which could have a huge impact on how you progress the game. So in terms of gameplay, we really just have to see as more information comes out. But truthfully, I have faith that Unknown Worlds will find a way to keep things balanced. I'm gonna keep this part short and sweet because I think the addition of multiplayer is a great sign for the game's narrative. You see, one of the reasons Subnautica was superior to Below Zero was the way they tackled storytelling. In Subnautica, you played as Riley Robinson, a silent protagonist with a singular clear goal: find a way to escape planet 4546B. The silent protagonist allowed the player to fully immerse themselves into the game, making it feel like the player themselves were experiencing everything the character went through. All the deeper lore was hidden behind various PDAs and data boxes that were scattered across the ocean, which aren't even required to beat the game. Granted, if you went through the game without reading anything you picked up or scanned, you might end up confused on why it's important to hash some eggs in order to shut off an alien ballista capable of turning your rescue ship into a Michael Bay reference. But you'd still be able to experience the game yourself and enjoy all it has to offer. In contrast, Below Zero introduced Robin Ayu, a xenologist who is visiting the planet in order to find out what has happened to her sister. Robin wasn't really the best designed character, often described as having the personality of an office chair.
All right, I have a scanner.
But on top of that, many players felt like it detracted from the immersion. I mean, despite her entire personality, she was a fully fledged character, reacting to the world around her and expressing her thoughts and emotions as you go through the game. And this is exactly why the developers named her Robin, because she is constantly robbing the player of experiencing the world around them. It is definitely the biggest reason why players dislike Below Zero, and many people, including myself, are hoping that Subnautica returns to the silent protagonist approach. Now, how does multiplayer tie into this? Like I said before, the game will allow up to 4 players in a playthrough, and critically thinking from a game design point of view, I highly doubt we'll be playing as 4 of the same character in a single game. Like, imagine 4 Robins going around having the exact same dialogue as they all pass the same rock. Like, it just seems silly and unnecessary. I also don't think that we'll be playing as 4 different characters with significant story roles either, and it's simply because the game allows you to play solo as well. I doubt the developers want to rob the solo players from the narrative experience, so I can't really see them taking this approach. The only way I see the narrative being handled is to follow the same structure used in the original Subnautica. However, they might complement this style of storytelling with a system similar to Alan from Below Zero, which I don't think is terrible. I personally liked Alan as a character and didn't really care about him being along for the ride. He felt like a PDA but with a lot more life and personality. And I think he might have been much more well received if he was introduced in the silent protagonist setting. In some ways, he's no different than the Sea Emperor's messages to the player in the original Subnautica. He might have been a little more prominent and a little more descriptive when finding stuff, but I still feel like he complements and adds to what you are seeing rather than robbing you of the entire experience. By far, the biggest concern that people have about multiplayer is its effect on horror. One of the biggest themes of the original Subnautica is isolation, and many people, including myself, believe that the game is one of the best at tackling the subject. From the beginning of the game, you are alone and are trying to desperately find signs of other human life. And the more you explore, the more you realize you are the sole survivor of the Aurora crash. And at first, it might not even be that scary. After all, you're in the safe shallows. There aren't many threats in these waters, and the predators that do live here aren't very dangerous. Then, you go out exploring, trying to find supplies to survive another day. You just got your radiation suit, so you decide to scavenge the area around the Aurora wreck. And through the dark, open waters, you see in the distance a peppermint-colored behemoth. I should be fine. You get attacked, your pants become wet with piss, and once you manage to escape, if you manage to escape, you develop a new fear. You see, being alone is terrifying, but realizing that you are not alone is far, far worse. But in your puddle of piss and hopelessness, you get a message from your life pod radio.
Aurora, this is Sunbeam again. We just picked up a massive debris field at your location. I didn't know how many of you... I didn't know. We're now en route to your location. We're gonna bring you home. Sunbeam out.
A ray of hope, a sense of comfort. All you need to do in order to leave this planet is survive just a little longer. And when the time comes, something unexpected happens.
Change course. Set thrusters to full.
Your last light of hope has turned into scrap metal at the bottom of the ocean. Your survival is now completely up to you. This is textbook horror, creating a sense of comfort, then ripping it away from the player when they least expect it. Sure, they might survive the encounter, but that underlying fear has already been planted, and the player will water that seed every time they feel comfortable, because it already happened once. Who knows how many more times it'll happen? And so even when the player is 100% safe, the tension will always be there. This is also amplified with other game features like low visibility, sound design, environmental storytelling. I could talk for hours about every little detail Subnautica has that increases tension and builds horror. But for this section, just remember the textbook concept of creating comfort, then taking it away. So the question a lot of people ask is, will they be able to recreate this feeling of terror and isolation with multiplayer involved? Well, believe it or not, it's already been done in a different game. For those of you that live under a rock, Lethal Company is a horror game where you and 3 of your idiot buddies all play as workers for the company. You go to various planets to collect scrap and sell them for credits. You can use these credits to buy various equipment, but most importantly, you have a credit quota you must meet. And if you don't reach this quota, well, this happens.
As you have not met the profit quota, your performance has been deemed below standard. Welcome to our disciplinary process.
It was his fault. It was his fault.
Ironically enough, being fired is the least of your worries once you're in the game, since the planets you explore are infested with creatures that can kill you in various unexpected ways.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
The game brilliantly uses proximity chat to create a sense of immersion, comfort, and also tension. It's all fun and games until you get separated from the squad, being left alone with nothing but the dark ambience of the planet to keep you company. Hello? You there? Anyone? This is a very similar form of isolation that Subnautica was able to capture so well, and it was done in a game that was meant to be played with multiple people. However, I'm not sure if this will translate well into Subnautica. Let me explain. In Lethal Company, the game begins with you and your buddies, eager to raid the planet for scrap. Alright boys, it's scrap grabbing time.
Let's do this shit.
Let's go.
This is the sense of comfort the game wants you to start off with. Then the players will dwindle one by one, whether it be because of unfortunate luck,
What the hell?
or terrible decision making. Yeah, you can shut off the turret if you hit it with the shovel.
Okay. Oh, it keeps beeping at me.
Eventually, it'll get down to one player, and without the comfort of other people, the last man standing has to face the horrifying fact that he is alone. Alone with potential monsters lurking around every corner. This tension is created by the removal of players from the game, a removal that feels almost permanent, but is reset at the end of the day, where the cycle repeats. That mechanic works very well with the nature of Lethal Company, but Subnautica is different. It's a survival game, not a loot scrounger. When you die in a survival game, you typically respawn instantly in the last safe area you were at. The effects of death aren't very long or punishing, and if that's how the system works in multiplayer, then I don't think there will be a feeling of isolation whatsoever. Perhaps if they added proximity chat, and if your friend dies without you realizing it, maybe that feeling could be recreated, but I personally doubt it. So what's gonna happen to horror if you add multiplayer? Well, it'll probably have the same effect that it had on another video game series in the horror genre. Now, if you're a horror game fan and you haven't played Outlast, you are genuinely missing out. It is by far one of the greatest horror games when it comes to creating tension and terror. But if you don't have a $20 bill that you can snatch out of grandma's purse, here's a very minor spoiler breakdown of the game. You play as a reporter trying to investigate an asylum for rumors of inhumane experiments. You break into the facility and soon realize that things are much crazier than you anticipated. Ah, fuck, shit! I'm not even 10 minutes into the game and I'm already finding dead bodies. The problem here is you're not a fighter. Combat is not an option. Your only saving grace is running or hiding, similar to Subnautica. This game does a great job in building tension by having long periods of uninterrupted exploration. Yep, I'm doing that. I'm witnessing. Then quickly threatens the player with hostile abominations that can't be stopped with force. Oh shit. Slam the door. Get in the locker. Oh my god, I'm so screwed. I'm so screwed. Oh my god, he checked the wrong locker. Oh my god, I'm safe. Outlast Trials is the most recent installment of the series, and they decide to twist the gameplay by adding multiplayer. A game starts with a specific task the players have to complete, but these tasks have many obstacles in the way, like violent patience,
Yeah, I hear someone.
various puzzles, that was easy, and unfortunate circumstances. Oh fuck! Ah, of course. As for the gameplay, well, it's better if I just show you. Hold on, be quiet. I think there's a guy around here.
Hit him with the brick.
Hey, SA, I heard you a snitch. Listen, fool, we're gonna take care of you nice and good. Oh, I hear something behind me. I hear something behind me. I don't like that.
Yep.
Fuck! You're on your own, buddy!
I hit it in a trash can. No, he found me! Help! Help! Throw a brick at him or something!
Oh, do I get to put him in this thing? Hey, Rai,
What?
how would you feel about a snitch barbecue?
I like barbecues.
This is gonna be quite the shocking experience.
Oh, doctor's here. Fuck.
Oh, fuck!
Fuck you! Get away!
Oh, I see. Yeah, we gotta hold these levers to electrocute the guy. Oh, shit.
Oh no, you doing okay?
Oh, he's not following me anymore.
He's on me. I'm dead.
Here, come on, get up, buddy. Come on, this is no place to die. Kill this motherfucker! Kill the snitch!
You did it!
Where are we going?
The fuck out of here. That's where we're going.
Oh, he
Oh
got
shit,
me.
he got right.
I said go fetch me my beer! Oh shit, he wants me. Oh, there he is. Run, run, run. Oh, we gotta wait for the shuttle?
Oh, we gotta wait. Oh, that is evil.
Bye, bitch. You don't know where I'm at.
I'm catching my breath.
Get in.
Oh.
Oh, let's go. As you can see, me and my friends were having a lot of fun. There were times of high tension, but I'm not really sure if I would call it a feeling of horror. And even if it was far more brief than it could have been if it was a solo experience. Not to say it was bad whatsoever. I really, really enjoyed playing the game. It was fun. And I think that's going to be the overall effect multiplayer has on Subnautica. It's going to be a fun addition to the game. If you're very concerned about the horror aspects, well, there's nothing stopping you from playing solo.